We're looking at a major legacy of the Trump era being this kind of shake-up, pivot towards Russia. I mean, obviously, we've seen a big shift in populism as well, and the other populist country that has had a populist regime, if you like, has been the United Kingdom. So the United Kingdom has actually downgraded the EU ambassadorial status in London. Now, that seems like a deliberate strategy to kind of antagonise relationships with the EU. Why have they done this, and what's the longer term signal it's sending out, do you think?
Yeah, well, as you said, I mean, the situation essentially is that the United Kingdom has decided not to grant the EU ambassador, which is João Vale de Almeida, the same diplomatic privileges as diplomats from other nation states. The UK's thinking is that the EU isn't a nation state. It's an international organization, so therefore it should be sort of relegated down the diplomatic rankings. But and by the way, Donald Trump tried to do the same thing in 2019. So he also referred to the EU as a foe. So those two things kind of go hand in hand as far as I see it. I mean, the move is likely to conjure up within the European Union these memories of Donald Trump doing the same thing, and also the rhetoric that he used. And I think to your question on the sort of signal that it's sending out, you're correct in saying it seems to be slightly antagonistic, almost kind of Britain first agenda to match the sort of the US's America first at the time. So the interesting thing, though, is just a couple of days ago, Boris Johnson actually chaired a meeting with 30 business leaders. And according to an article on the BBC, the core message that actually emerged from this meeting was that the UK is not going to deliberately antagonize the EU straight after Brexit. But this seems to be that. And I think it's an important issue because it's essentially defining the nature of the relationship that the United Kingdom wants to have with the EU. And I mentioned this idea of perhaps Britain first, and you mentioned yourself this populist idea. It all seems to me perhaps a little astrategic, because the UK, although it's exited the EU, has not exited Europe. We're still Europeans. And the defence and the security of the United Kingdom is inextricably linked to the defence and the security of the European Union and Europe as a whole. And also in trade terms, in terms of supply chains, we're still going to be very dependent on the European Union for our prosperity, which, by the way, is one of the key aspects of the United Kingdom's national security strategy: prosperity for the United Kingdom and to protect our people. So their interests are still linked with the European Union, and this just seems to be almost a sort of attempt at needling the European Union. And there's an interesting quote by Machiavelli. He said that people should either be caressed or crushed, and this seems to be neither. It's just in this middle ground that just seems perhaps to be. It doesn't seem to be serving any kind of long-term strategic purpose other than to irritate the European Union, and I see that as being perhaps slightly problematic with my sort of security hat on in terms of the UK's security relationship with the European Union.